my family, like I was always taught as a kid, no one's going to hand you anything. You have to work for it yourself. But at the end of the day, like the top one is religious values, but like the religious values trickle down into the other cultures as well. Like, especially to my parents, like that's how they were able to come to this country. That's how they were able to move up in the world. They came here with 2 suitcases and that was it. And they were able to build an entire life for themselves here. And it was through education. So education is so important. Like that's how you know, especially like in Romanian culture as well, like that's how you get respect from people. Like, oh, where did you go to school? Like, what are you doing now with your life to impact the world? And the best way they find that is through education, because I don't have like my dad's business that I can run. I don't have all these connections that a lot of other people have, that where like maybe they don't need education, but they can find like another way to make money and to make an impact. And that's great for them. But in my family, like I was always taught as a kid, no one's going to hand you anything. You have to work for it yourself. And the way to work for it for us was through education. And especially with where I want to be in life, education is the way that I'm going to do it. But education doesn't define who you are and what you can do for the world. You choose your actions and you choose. It's a pathway, but it's not a defining or an identifiable thing. Like your GPA does not reflect who you are. My mom always said it doesn't reflect who you are, how smart you are, just how hard you work. And I think that can be said about a lot of things. When I grew up in a seminary, so it was like a pastor's training, and I lived in the student dorms, which was basically all international students. So everyone there was in seminary and graduate school as an international student. So I grew up thinking that America was mostly Korean, and like we just had like people from everywhere, from like Nigeria, from China, from Korea. That's how I grew up thinking America was. And then in 7th grade, my dad got a job and we moved to the suburbs. And that was a complete like cultural change. And so then I saw how people treated my family because my parents had an accent. And I thought that because of that, they either weren't as smart or they weren't as trustworthy or anything like that, which to me never made any sense, because they're speaking a second language when most people around us couldn't even speak more than one, kind of thing. Or like someone wouldn't rent to my parents because they heard my mom on the phone and thought that her accent, I guess, wasn't good enough to rent or something. And then my brother called like the next day and she was like willing to rent to him. So it was just little things like that. I wouldn't say it was anything big or life-changing, but just especially the way that my dad has been treated, because his job is to speak in public. He's a pastor, so like it's his job to like stand up and talk to people. So then some of the ways that people have treated him because of that was not always my favorite. But me, myself, I feel like the biggest thing would be I get randomly pulled over at the airport every single time I go, because I have a weird name and my birthday's on 9/11. So, you know, but other than that, the people that don't represent your community are the ones that get highlighted. And I think that's for every community.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to see our weekly self-reflective questions and the topics of new interviews to come. If you would like to become a Soul Scholar and partake in an interview, email us at ZenGeistOfficial@gmail.com.